when we are vulnerable, we are vulnerable because of our ability or the status of current abilities, right? That is also an indication that we need to upgrade ourselves. And it is not an indicator that you are not credible. We are not credible only when we say that we are not vulnerable.
I'm your host Sumita Mariam, and let's begin with a quick introduction of PeopleHum. PeopleHum is an end-to-end, one-view integrated human capital management automation platform, the winner of the 2019 Global Coding Award for XCM, that is specifically built for crafted employee experiences and the future of work. We run the PeopleHum blog and video channel, which receives upwards of 200,000 visitors a year, and publish around 2 interviews with well-known names globally every month. And now for our guest, Mr. Srinath Guru Raj Rao is Vice President and CHRO of Nextwal Group. He has been awarded Best Full Lifecycle Business Leader Award for 2007 from Satyam, has received the Employer Branding Award 2008-9 Excellence in HR Through Technology, and Global HR Excellence Award 2008-2009 Innovative HR Practices. He has spoken at various HR forums and has been recognized among the top 100 HR technology minds by World HRD Congress, and these are just a part of all his great achievements. We are extremely happy to have you, Srinath, on our interview series today. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Sumita, and to PeopleHum for bringing out this part of me, so that I could share my experiences and some bits of current practices to the wider world. And I hope even if it helps in the smallest bits to the audience, it would be a great effort. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much for coming to us. It's absolutely a pleasure. So let's move on to the interview, Srinath. The first question I have for you, let's start with a little bit about yourself, right? You've had such an exciting journey. Can you tell us your story about, how you came to be the CHRO of Nextwal Group?
Oh, yes. It was a kind of very exciting journey. Just before I took up the role with this wonderful organization, Nextwal, I was going through a turbulent phase with the economy down, and last few years before this was indeed economically turbulent in terms of the job market not being very acquainted with a lot of vacancies for the human resources. But best aside, I think this was made to be in terms of taking up the role where the group itself is so diversified with banking and financial services on the one hand, to the media, domestic Bengali news media on the other. So the group has had a diverse set of offerings, which was quite exciting in the sense. And especially human resources is a role which has human at the front, right? And this has always kept me going throughout my 2 decades of experience. I think it has been a wonderful, exciting journey, and has also ensured that I give my best in terms of bringing out the possibilities in each human being to the fore. I think that's the key role of any HR leader today, in terms of making the possibilities actually real with the various tool sets that we have in various conditions that we go through, and one such is currently playing out in its full strength. So I think Nextwal did provide me an exciting opportunity, and thanks to the founders Shomen and Shoren, who had built a great organization way before that I joined, and we just ensured that we built on that strength for 2 decades that was already there into a great people's organization, and that has made us today a certified great place to work 2020-21. And also we are proud to say that we are a company with top 50 organizations with great people managers. I think it's a double asset that we have great managers on the one hand and also a great place to work. I think an HR leader can't ask more than this in terms of what we can achieve.
That's wonderful. I mean, one thing that really fascinates me while taking the interviews with leaders like you is that, how you think. And it comes with a lot of experience and, a lot of interaction with humans. And one thing with CHROs is that they have their way with people. and that's wonderful. It's such a good, I don't even know if it is a habit, but it's such a good thing to have inside of you, to be good to people, to be empathetic and all of that. So that's wonderful. And when you speak, it is very evident that a good people leader can know their people and understand and all of that. So that's great.
Yes, there's a very short story I want to narrate here with respect to people leaders. I think there is a wonderful analogy in lobsters. If you've heard about lobster story, lobsters have a hierarchy defined within their a tribe, so to say. The hierarchy is the leader of the pack is one who has the most highest level of serotonin within them. Serotonin is the organ, is the chemical that induces positivity around, right? So the highest positive individual to the lowest positive, that's the hierarchy, and the food chain also, goes through that. So I think in these times, the traditional hierarchies no more function. The more you're positive about your environment, the more you're tuned to your people. I think leadership is defined by that, and is going to be increasingly defined by that with the fragmentation that is around. And there is, on one hand, you have family together, and on the other there is fragmentation of work. So therefore, I think these are the times that will redefine the human in HR very, very strongly.
Yeah, that's such a wonderful analogy. That's right. I mean, that's so true. We need humans out there right now. It's such a difficult time.
Sure, sure.
So, Srinath, coming back, one of the habits of highly successful people leaders is keeping up with technology, right? So, do you think HR tech advancements can ever take away the human element?
No, I think all technology should lead to the betterment of human as a possibility, what we can achieve. Throughout the era of industrial era, and even before that, the tools that the humans were able to conceive, construct, and deploy change the way the civilization shaped up, right? When I say that, it is true today with respect to technology as a tool, where the human is aspiring to enable more and more with technology. When I say technology, technology adds strength, adds transparency to the system, adds capability in terms of expansion, amplification, and giving that scale that is essential to reach and actually transform lives around. From an HR perspective, there are various tool sets. So technology, what it has done is given us a handle in terms of how we can better lives, without which today it is impossible to conceive access, conceive enabling transformation at the last mile, and also build tools which are which have least amount of nuances in terms of somebody coming and faulting your system, right? So from a scale perspective, from a ability perspective, from ensuring aspirations are met, is covered through this. I was quoting a simple example that we did in 2016. We had this year-on-year exercise of renewing your medical insurance contracts, which every organization goes through, and I have cited this in multiple discussion forums, because this is one powerful example of how we were able to change the old ways. So every year you had the insurance provider coming and telling you your consumption to premium is about 100%, 120%, 150%, sometimes depending on the illnesses of dependents and family members and employees per se. So we wanted to tackle two key challenges. One was to bring down the instances of illness, and two, not pay very high a premium or the cost of it, right, in terms of bringing in value to the system, and doing this where nobody loses and everybody wins. So this is the problem statement. So we looked at the current systems way back in 2016. We used IBM's platform, AI platform, and did an actuarial study of our own past history of workforce illnesses, right? So we could categorize them as repeatable, non-repeatable illness, and repeatable illnesses how do we control? Most of them were lifestyle dependent, or hereditary or genetic dependent, illnesses. So we went back to the provider and said, how could you help us contain these or reduce the levels of illness leading to hospitalization, one, and two, leading to better lifestyles. So the insurance provider worked with the medical fraternity to come back and construct a custom designed custom made program for us, in terms of, one, creating awareness amongst the employees and their dependents, and sustain that as a program. Now, in terms of literal value to that, we were able to reduce premium cost by about 20-30%, even when that year we had 100 to 120% ratio, right? Because not all illnesses were repeatable in the coming year. So typically what happens is they come and say, this can be possible next year as well. Somebody breaking their leg because they met with an accident, somebody having a very short term fever or such. So therefore, we structured our contracts in a way that it meant more value to the end person that is impacted. We use the actuarial study to enable a transformation. This was a very powerful way of underlining the technology's help in terms of taking probability of an actual illness repeating itself, and using that data to mine better lives and families, and also a bonding factor with employees to say, today I can tell my employees our illness, because of these, our illness count is less than single digit numbers, right? So I think this was one underlying factor, how technology could change lives for the better. Another example was, we introduced digital learning platforms. Now it is all the more in the forefront. We clock about 60 to 80,000 hours a year. What was 40 hours per person per year target today has immense possibility. Now an organization is at the edge and able to transform only when we have the knowledge right up front and available as wisdom to be applied somewhere and take out the work, right? It is no more 1 plus 1 equals 2, but that 1 plus 1 and in between, there are a lot of wisdom and knowledge that needs to be packed. So in this genre, we decided, how do we also meet aspirations and also make it an imperative that the employee understands as a culture, I am not here if I am not studying or learning, right? Gone are those days when you could learn 40 hours and still sustain a livelihood, be at the cutting edge of job and etc. But today the demand for new skills, demand for shifting skills, especially on the technology front, is so high. Average shelf life of technology is about 1.5 years. So it is very important that we keep that edge in learning. Another hierarchy that I want to talk about after the positivity class is that the hierarchy of knowledge. If you ought to be standing in the front or even running the organization in its current successful state, you need to be at the forefront of what is the cutting edge of knowledge, right? Today there is an imperative need to do that, and that is not possible without building a technology infrastructure that sustains this learning, that sustains the edge, and also ensures that a proper right feedback is coming through with the systems that we deploy. Therefore, a great asset in terms of technology is a tool which will also come back and tell me, these are our imperfections, this is where you need to probably focus a little better, a little more, and ensure those imperfections are turned into opportunities. During COVID, we were able to do this successfully. We had, instead of degrowth, we grew well, right? In the last 2 months, we have added close to 150 FTEs in the organization, and also been able to go to our customers and say, these are the areas where we have additional capacity. How could we help you, right? Because the customers that we work with are in the US geography, and we have been able to focus on their areas where they need help and provide with capacity and with technology, being able to go back and help them out in this manner.
Wow.
I hope I was able to answer to your
Yes, yes.
question.
Yes, yes, you were. And in fact, I had the chance to interview Dr. Rima Chaudhary, who is the CHRO of
Uh-huh.
Datamatics.
Mhm.
And it is such a, it is such a common thing for CHROs to, one single person, one designation CHRO wearing a lot of hats. Like they have their expertise in everything to keep their organization going, and the heart of the organization, the people, right? To run the people, you need to know technology, you need to know administration, you need to know finance, you need to know everything. So that really reflects in your answers as well when you try to tell about your projects and all of that. So CHRO is no easy job.
Oh, it's not easy, but the best thing is if you have a great team with you, a team which works with you, understands the nitty gritties of the day, and is passionate about what we are doing. Ultimately, if you give that meaning, if you make one aware of the meaning that the work carries, I think you don't need any other motivators. That's powerful enough to drive one to the point of craziness and obsession that you could create value continuously, right? And in the HR fraternity, thankfully, we have great leaders around, like you were mentioning about Rima, who think on terms of putting the heart first, and then putting the rest, because ultimately it is the human capacity, human possibilities that we are working around. With 70 to 80% of the work that is carried is dependent on people capabilities today, unlike before. Even after RPA, even after AI, ML coming out, it is still the human that is at the forefront. So it's very important that we go back and take care of that vital aspect of organization, which is people. I think that is where the real differentiator is, and also the maximum opportunity, I should say. Right? If you talk to Srinath, you'll know there are a lot of gaps in understanding, a lot of things that could still be done by talking to other CHROs. And therefore, I think our own imperfections at times give us the immense opportunity to correct those and unlock the value that we could better our people, better the environment around, better the organization.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. And that's wonderful work you're doing out there, especially, when it comes to crisis management and all of that. So, we have an uncertain environment, and with such an environment, making decisions is not very easy. So, how do you think HR leaders can, deal with or adapt to uncertain times?
I think the only qualified response for an uncertain environment is creativity, innovation, and creativity. Right? There's no other wand that one could, use during these times, when uncertain times. Because I say this because uncertain times, all that we did in the past carried through as successes, as practices, don't hold fort, because they are the very reason that if you are experiencing a challenge, they are the very reason that the challenge is appearing more than what it should in any circumstance, because the equations have changed, the platforms might have changed, the environment might have changed. And in COVID times, the entire the floor that you are sitting is shifted to your homes for my sake. So I think so I say creativity is the best and the most effective response in an uncertain time. Things that aid to this are your analytics, the ability to analyze things and come out with more data points to understand the current scenario, break down the uncertainty or the quantum of challenge into smaller parts, because strategy today is a T20 game. I say this because strategy is scanning environment and responding. So we have a 10 to 10 philosophy of taking decisions at the management level. So we do a 10 in the morning, 10 in the evening, taking stock of what is happening in the initial days. And we were able to successfully navigate all the uncertainties appearing for that day, here and now. Right? We did not think 5 months down the line, 6 months down the line, because it did not hold fort. It did not, because the challenge itself was so huge. So initial days we did that 10 to 10, and I say that strategy became a 20-20 match now. So you have to understand your environment quickly, respond to that quickly, and this is only possible if you build IT technology infrastructure available, right? However big or small your organization is, technology should be at the core of what we do today, because it gives you that strength to change quickly. A traditional organization without a digitization, without a technology as a tool is not available, it becomes difficult to navigate the uncertainties. The impact would be much more. So I say HR leaders dealing with uncertainties, let's look at the cross spectrum of what is uncertain. Uncertainty that kicked due to this environment was your ability to sustain your earnings for the organization, earnings translating to better livelihoods, sustaining of employee well-being at the end of the day, and the ability to run the organization effectively. So to tackle this, HR ensure that we had conversations with the sales, the management teams, and ensure that luckily for us we were not able to we were able to navigate this challenge initially. First 2 weeks was getting the entire workforce work from home, right? And then once we did this, we have sustained that for last 6 months now, from March 13th onwards. 24th is when we actually went working from home, and within 2 weeks we were up and running 100% work from home, and we have sustained that. And so that ensured that our ability to earn is not disrupted heavily. So once you are on the positive side of your cash flow as an organization from a business perspective, your ability to take care and care for human people around is very very effective. You're not cutting corners to ensure that you are dealing with the scenario. You are full-fledged on. One thing we did was we started communication circles in terms of communicating those decisions of why, what, and how very effectively to the last mile. Right? We did not hold forth. In fact, we did a over communication of all things in terms of changes, policies, our systems, practices that we changed because of the scenario. I think that worked well in terms of connecting the last mile to the thoughts that were there and also actions that followed suit. And some cases it worked where people came up with better ideas. So it was kind of people running the organization rather than a top-down approach. So we our only job was to facilitate this conversation continuously and ensure that the best of the things are practiced, so that our human element is catering to the needs in a very very diverse manner. When I say this, couple of things come to my mind. One was, some of them who had migrated from different cities, working in our cities where we had physical offices, were staying in PG accommodations, very small places, difficult to work from there and stuff. So we had to rethink how we assist them to be able to move out in the pandemic scenario. So we were able to do that as well, but without disruption over the weekends, and ensuring the state machinery backed us up in terms of the policies or the practices that the government had laid down in terms of travel restrictions and so on and so forth. So we were continuously scanning the environment, and that is how we did. So my simple 2 lines to all HR leaders is, when you look at our people with the lens of being a human, and then put your business around that, that human will take a proper decision, appropriate decision, a right decision, to be able to keep that connect and trust intact. So rest will follow as is, value will come out any which ways, because we are not doing what is not right for our people. Ultimately it is that person or the employee who is our organization, who is our brand, who is our value, who is our whatever representation that we make internally, externally, right? So I think that is the thought process that we were able to construct. I think these are some of the important things that we did.
Yeah, that's wonderful work. And also, Srinath, being in the HR industry for so long, what advice do you have for people who are just starting out in the HR field?
Wonderful question, and very impactful one too. in these uncertain times, what should I do if I have, I'm joining a workforce? I think bend down your head, work hard, master a skill. Without skill, knowledge, one skill which you can say that I am a master at this. It might take years, it might take couple of years doing that repeatedly, but repetition is also boredom, mind you. It is also drudgery. It is also going in deep in the same thing and only extracting little, right? Like when you're mining for gold, you have to shift tons of soil before you actually get that speck of gold, right? It is similar in the initial year. So to advise to all friends out there who are wanting to come, master one skill which you are the master and you are confident. That gives you confidence, that gives you authenticity, that gives you honestly to approach and courageously move ahead in any circumstance, right? Be it COVID, no COVID, in any circumstance, any part of the world, you are known for your mastery of skills. Sometime back, I think Indra Nooyi put it as hip pocket skills, right? You you flesh it out of your pocket and say, this is the skill that I am known for. Apart from that, there is an also skill, right? If not this, what else, right? There comes Howard Gardner's principles of the passion quotient, as he calls it. So each of us have a different hobby. When that hobby becomes where you're acquiring mastery over your hobby, you become an expert at that as well, and that you're doing it with passion. Try and adapt that in your work. If not, also have an also skill where we are trained on something else, because in these times it is very important to know, if not this, what else, right? So personally, I have been practicing music along with my son, and Carnatic classical music. I'm a trained musician on playing veena. And apart from that, I have been learning to put some cartoons, drawing cartoons in these times. So I'm still an elementary person there. Probably I should become an expert in some time, writing reams of paper of cartoons. So I think these things surely work. uh, Also, another caution to people who want to enter the HR fraternity today. In these times, there is information inflation, right? You can find everything at all places, but then focus is what gets you what you want, and effort is what turns what you want into actual reality. So focus is very important. First, find out what is it that you want to master in. Most things appear good when you look at the success part of that, and if you look at the effort part of it, you will understand what is it that you need and what you can contribute. So I think these are some of the simple things that I would like to share.
Wow, that's great advice, and I think that's quite an inspiring answer. Also, our audience are gonna love it because a person like you telling us you can play the veena and can draw cartoons. I mean, that's very inspiring.
Thank
And
you. Thank you.
yeah, so Sridhar, just to kind of wrap up the interview, right? If you have any last sound bites that you would like to leave our audience.
I have three powerful quotes. I also happen to put out daily quotes, my original quotes on Sriscope on LinkedIn and Twitter. So I have three lines that sum up, what I think is needed in the current times. One is innovation gives birth in difficult times, right? So we need to practice innovation, be it in normal times or uncertain times. Innovation always has that edge which can cater to. Um, Second one is reality looked through partial knowledge appears very complex. So when something is appearing very complex to you, always try and simplify it through adding more knowledge to what you already know. So it is an indication of making complex things simpler is our own feedback from the environment, from the system, that we need to upgrade our knowledge. Most often times, especially at the leadership levels, we think we know it all. We don't know it all. I think that's the adage. We don't know it all. We need to figure it out, and that's where knowledge helps, collaboration helps, teamwork helps. The more uncertain, complex a system or an environment becomes, the more it is necessary for us to collaborate and bring the minds together to be able to construct a simplified solution around. Impact of vulnerability is a function of our abilities and not of our credibility. Right. So this is the third one which I want to end with. When we are vulnerable, we are vulnerable because of our ability or the status of current abilities, right? That is also an indication that we need to upgrade ourselves, and it is not an indicator that you are not credible. We are not credible only when we say that we are not vulnerable in these circumstances. So I think these bring forth the authenticity in a leadership that is required to courageously is to say I don't know and stand up and build a collaborative approach to know what we don't know. So knowing the unknowns and knowing the knowns is part of leadership cycle. I think that with that I would like to end this discussion. Thank you so much, Sumita.
Thank you so much, Srinath. I mean, this whole interview has been really positive with all of your inspiring stories and all of that. Anyone who loves HR is going to love this interview. I'm sure of that. Thank you so much for coming to our series and, spending so much time and energy for us. I will keep in touch with you and we'll be sending over the links as soon as it's done. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. Thank you, Sumita. Wonderful questions. Thanks so much.